the biggest thing that I want to do is to encourage people to really enjoy every minute that they have. I think that's one of the beautiful things about what I do is that it makes me very aware of just this really precious human experience that we're having, and that I don't want to waste a minute, and I don't want anybody else to waste a minute either. And so go out there, do the things, have the experiences, and really enjoy every minute that you're here. So that's what I want to do.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of The Story of You. We have special guests with us today, Carina de Torre, who is an estate planning and elder law attorney and a colleague and friend of mine. So I am so excited to have her here today to tell us more about herself. Carina, just tell us a little bit about your practice, where you work, and what estate planning and elder law is.
Happy to do that, Brooke, and thanks for having me. It's always fun to spend time with you. So, estate planning and elder law are kind of two halves of the same coin. So, estate planning are the series of decisions that you make during your life to protect yourself and to protect your family and to keep them out of court and out of conflict. Elder law is a special set of tools that we use to help people whose health might be failing in the future make sure that they get the long-term care that they need. And so it always incorporates part of estate planning, but then it also takes it a little bit further. How did I get into that? I spent I've been in practice now 20 years, very close to it. And I spent a lot of time in the early part of my practice at a large law firm doing litigation. And so the times that I was able to work with families, small business owners, they didn't really want to call me. They didn't want to have to deal with me because they were in litigation. It was just a really negative and terrible place to be. But I did learn a lot about how to protect assets as part of litigation. And I've used that and really incorporated it into my estate planning and elder law practice. And so my goal now is to take that and to keep families out of court and out of conflict through good estate plans. Personally, I am a mom, a wife. I have two 8-year-old twins, and they definitely keep us busy. But so I'm just living that working mom life like a lot of other folks, and just trying to help protect everybody's families too as part of it.
Excellent. Well, thank you again for being here. Let's take it back a little bit and go back to your high school days. Who were you in high school? Were you the jock, the band geek, the cheerleader, the prep? Like, who was Carina in high school?
Carina in high school was the social butterfly who really was friends with everybody, but was very focused on studies as well. And so I was the person who was, president of the National Honor Society and in a ton of, lots of extracurriculars and physics team. And if you can name it, I did it. One of my favorite things at that time was I wanted to go to medical school at that time. And I enjoyed very much my time volunteering in hospitals and like rotating through different departments and meeting people and meeting patients and getting to know, what was important to them and their families and what they were going through. And so those are still things that I think about every day. And so, yeah, that was one of my favorite things in high school was being very involved in my community service and in my school. Probably could have been more involved in sports, but there wasn't enough hours in the day at the time.
Nice. So I'm interested in that story. You wanted to go to medical school and ended up in law school. How did that happen?
Well, in my first year of college, I would say that I got some maybe not so great advice from an advisor who was with the university and said, maybe you're not really, I had been working 2 jobs and, I ended up getting I think a C in calculus 2 or something. And and they're like, I don't know if this is going to be the right fit for you. And at 18 years old, I didn't really think much of it. And I said, well, okay, well, what else can I do with a science degree in a science area? And because I knew I was very interested in health and longevity and how to help people, and that um, was something that I was exposed to with my mom, who was a Social Security judge, and so she was very much into how to help people when their health fails, how to make sure that they have what they need to get the healthcare that they need and to continue living their lives. And so I thought that I could help people through law school and helping them in that. And so my I now partner my law partner is my sister, and so she and I practice together, and we help people who are disabled and need social security help or estate planning or special needs trusts or any other like long-term care. So that it's very a health driven focus. So um, it was a good transition, and I'm happy to have made that transition. But that's my superhero origin story.
Well, what I'm hearing is that even back in high school, when you were volunteering in hospitals, that at that point in time you weren't qualified to provide medical care, but you were providing, other types of comfort and care for those patients, and that's probably I envision pretty similar to what you're doing now. You're dealing with people in some cases who are elderly and who are in need of healthcare services, but you're providing a comfort for them to know that their future is, once they pass, will be protected through their family. So
No, it's been hugely, I realized, and I think that's why I had to make the transition when I was at the large law firm. Um, I really loved who I was working with and what I was doing there. But the struggle came with the attorney client relationship in that I was doing things on an hourly basis. I had to bill by the hour, and clients didn't want to call. It just wasn't great for the attorney client relationship. And what I discovered about that is that I really want to be in that long-term relationship with my clients and talking to them and being able to provide that comfort. And you can't do that if your client's afraid to call you because of how much it's going to cost. So doing everything on a flat fee or fixed fee basis has really changed the dynamic so that I can have more of that relationship with my clients than it's similar to what I would see in like hospitals where you're just calling to see how they're doing. And their son just turned 18. Great. Well, we need to protect them too, or how's mom's health doing? Does she need anything? And it's a very different practice than the one I started with, and I'm much happier for it.
that's awesome. Well, congrats on having your own firm. And that's super interesting that you get the opportunity to practice with your sister. How is that sisterly dynamic? Do we have I have two daughters who are close in age, and um, today they were fighting about toothpaste. So they will fight about anything. And so, how do you and your sister get along in that business relationship?
Well, first, I want to tell you that there is hope, that it's going to get better.
I hope so. I hope.
So my sister and I are 2 years apart. I'm older by 2 years. And growing up, yes, we bickered a ton. It sounds exactly like your girl. And we bickered over anything and everything. But in the end, there's always that level of trust that that this person has your back. Especially as you get out into the world and you see other people's business partnerships either not go the way they expected or fall apart, or there is to have that love, that base level of trust that you have with a sibling is it's really priceless. So but as far as, so it did get better. So in college, as we all started to kind of go down our paths, it everything, the bickering slowed down and eventually stopped. And we so we've had our firm together now almost 12 years. January will be 12 years. And so we've been at it for a little bit. And
Yeah.
really what we discovered too is that the trust level is amazing. We each try to focus on things that we're good at and the other one's not. And then we've tried to learn not to micromanage each other. And I think part of that is been helpful that we help each other and we make business decisions together. But she's responsible for like, her cases. She used to work for the Social Security Administration, so she knows more about Social Security disability than anyone I know, and certainly me. And so I'm there to support her in that, but she runs lead on that. And then with the estate planning and elder law and the probate side of things, that's my strong suit, and she supports me in that, but lets me take the lead. So I think having good communication and defined roles are a really big important part of that. But there is a light at the end of the tunnel. It did get better.
I'm looking forward to that. So between the two of you, most siblings, they have like the wild child and then the like rule follower. So which one are you?
She, I think, is more of the rule follower and the traditionalist, and I am more of the well. Let's try this. It's different. Let's do the new thing, or let's
Yeah.
let's try something different. Let's push this boundary. Let's go off roading. Let's go sky. Let's go kayaking. Let's do something else, or let's set up our own firm and really be able to serve people that way because that's a big step too to take that step into the world of business and so I think I would say that I'm more of the wild child or the pioneer, and then but she is like right there, lockstep with me, and keeps me grounded. So it's a very good thing.
Yeah. Sounds like you complement each other well.
Mhm.
So, 12 years, that is a long time. Most businesses don't make it that long. So, congratulations on that. You are well established and very experienced. I didn't realize you've been practicing 20 years. You don't look that old,
Ah,
but that's congratulations on that. So, you mentioned that, you kind of have the spirit of going kayaking or doing some, you know, exciting things. So tell us a little bit about some of you mentioned before to me that you did racing in college. Is that right? Tell me about that.
yeah. So I mean, I have always been very in tune to the idea that we are here having a really unique human experience, and that time is really finite. And so you really need to enjoy it as much as possible, as often as possible, because our time here is very short in the grand scheme of things. So that has always lent itself to, very early on in my life, doing things like bucket lists or just writing down, okay, what are the things that I want to do before something happens, right? And so that's led to things like I went, skydiving from 10,000 feet in the Florida Keys, and that was amazing. And then, also I had at one point a racing license with the SCCA. And so I went to the Bob Bondurant School of Racing out in Phoenix, Arizona, and realized why the tuition was 20% off in August. Because the breeze felt like a blow dryer in my face. So when it was like 115 degrees and you're in a racing suit in a hot car, I was kind of choices, but we had a wonderful time. And so I did that for 4 days. And so I'm just always trying new things. I just always want to try new things, new experiences, go to new places, because there is so much to see and do in this really short period of time.
Did you do the skydiving before or after you had kids?
Before. So I did that before. So
So has your adventure level changed since you've had kids? Are I've noticed that for myself. I used to be a major adrenaline junkie, and since I had kids it's like
it has,
I'm not gonna risk it.
it
How
has
about you?
shifted. It has definitely shifted because so at the same time I don't want them to learn fear. I want them to try new things and I want to push them to do new things. Um, but I am definitely choosing my activities a little bit more carefully than I did before. And then, when they're older and are more settled, then, we'll open up the field of experiences again and try a few different things. But yeah, so right now, maybe instead of, climbing Half Dome or something at Yosemite, it might be, hiking up the side of it instead. And instead of, for example, we went to Zion National Park this year with the kids, and instead of trying Angel's Landing, which is a beautiful hike but very dangerous at the top, where there's steep drop offs on both sides, and all there is just a chain, with a rail with a chain that's being shared by hundreds and hundreds of people. I said, maybe we'll hike the Narrows instead. And so, and the kids, we loved it. We loved it. So the Narrows was you're hiking in a river, in a slot canyon, and it was a beautiful, amazing experience. We still love Zion, and then maybe in the future we'll try Angel's Landing another day. So I would say there's been some changes. I'm trying not to put the brakes on it too much, but being careful.
Being wise. Yeah, I agree with that. So, you now have this successful practice and are serving people with their estate planning and elder law needs. So, what is a success story or a client that was special to you that you can tell us about in your field of practice?
There have been a lot of great clients that I've had the ability to work with over the years. One of them she's a dear friend of mine. I've been friends with her for, 25, more than 25 years, 30 years maybe. And she, wanted to get her estate plan. She has a family. She has, she's married. She has kids. She's got a business. She's got investments. She wanted to get her estate plan done. We got that done, and then got everything in place. And about a year later, she told me that she had breast cancer. And, you know, I was just devastated because I needed her. She's my friend and I wanted her to be well. But one of the things that she told me was just, I am so glad that we did our estate plan with you. And I know that if anything happens to me, my husband's going to be fine. My kids are going to be fine. Everything is taken care of and I don't have to worry about it. So I can focus on what's really important, which is getting better. And that to me was just such a high compliment, just to know that I had been able to give somebody that peace of mind so they can put all their energy and their attention into what was really important. And she did get better and she's here. She's still here with us. And so she is a tough cookie and I'm just thrilled that we were able to help her. So
Yeah. And I can imagine if she had not done that,
yeah,
that when she got the diagnosis, how overwhelming it would be to now have to be thinking about all of these, issues that and all the questions and all the documents and everything she has to put together for you to do the estate plan, like that, putting that extra burden onto someone, which is usually, unfortunately, when a lot of people first start thinking of it, right? When death becomes a possibility that's in the forefront of their mind, now they start thinking, okay, I need to put these things in place. And you can do that, but also too, the added stress of having to already be concerned with your health, but to now have to, it would be like trying to apply for a mortgage, like at that time, finding all your bank statements and your tax returns, like it's a lot. So, for her to have it already in place and not have to worry about that aspect, I can definitely appreciate how she was feeling relieved.
it is. It's not something you really want to tackle in the middle of an emergency. Like, do we help people in emergencies? Yes, of course, because you never know when something's going to happen, right? So, but it's so much easier to go through it with a guide like me, you know, before it becomes a crisis, when you have the time to just kind of sit down and just take it one step at a time and just be comfortable throughout the whole process. Can we do both? Absolutely. Is it more important to get it done? Yeah, but there's a better way and a less good way of getting that done. So the least stressful way is possible. And that's really our main goal, is just to make it easy for people to take that first step, to make them know, let them know it doesn't have to be scary or overwhelming. You don't have to do it by yourself, because that's what keeps a lot of people from even taking that first step, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and I would expect that some people hold off on doing it too because it's an expense, right? It costs money to have a will or a trust put in place, and they think, well, I'll pay for that sometime down the road, or I just don't want to pay for that right now. But what happens if someone doesn't, pay that expense and have a will or a trust put into place? What happens if they never get around to doing that and then they pass?
Yeah, I tell everyone, listen, there is a cost of doing nothing. So doing nothing doesn't cost nothing. It costs a lot, actually. And so if you do nothing and you're incapacitated, which means, for example, if you had a stroke or if you had a traumatic brain injury or something like that, and you lose the ability to make legal decisions, the do nothing plan means having to go to guardianship court and to have a legal guardian appointed over you. And that can cost, especially over the course of the years, because you have to go back every single year for reporting and other requirements, lots of paperwork, and that will cost in the tens of thousands of dollars. So if you do nothing, that alone, and something happens to you, but you don't pass, that's going to be the cost of doing nothing. And it can be avoided for a very tiny fraction of that cost, and to not then have to also deal with the time and the stress of going to court and dealing with the legal process. And if somebody passes, it's very similar. Like the probate has a lot of really good things about it. It does. So probate is the process where you take things that were owned, things of value, assets that were owned by the person who passed away. And eventually you put them in the name of the beneficiaries. I call it like a giant washing machine for title. So it comes in the name of the person who passed away and it comes out in the name of the beneficiaries. And in the middle, there's all of these things you have to do to safeguard, the property. You have to see, was there an estate plan? Who are the beneficiaries? Are there any creditors? What do we do with the property? All of that. And so that process will take, at least a year if things are going really well. And the cost of that can very easily be in the tens of thousands of dollars, for what you would consider kind of um, a normal estate. It can be very expensive. There are some procedures for smaller estates, but then you're also still dealing with the process of having to go to court and the uncertainty and the delay of that. So, the cost of doing nothing is really something that you are passing on to your family in some way. And during a time when they're going to be very stressed or, about your ill health or grieving the fact that you've passed. In addition to that, they're now having to deal with all sorts of things that they weren't ready to have to handle. And so, it's really, I tell clients that it's a gift that you give to yourself and your family, because you love them. So
Mhm.
you're really taking care of them by taking care of this.
And a common misconception is that a will avoids probate, right? That's not the case. You still have to probate a will, correct?
That's right. So I tell people that if you do nothing, the state of Florida has a plan for you. It will say, you know, who who will receive things, who won't receive things, how they will receive things. For example, if you have underage children, um, their portion of it will get locked in a court account until they're 18 years of age, and then they'll get everything at 18, which is not necessarily something that we would ever really want for our kids. So if you do nothing, there is a plan. You may not like it, but it is there. So if you want to change that, then there's really a couple of options. What a will does, is it tells the probate court, okay, I know what the state of Florida laws would say would be the default rule. I don't want that. I want this instead. This is what I want to do. These are the people that I want to bless with my assets. And this is how I want them to receive it, so that they receive it potentially in a way that's protected, from creditors, from predators, accidents, judgments, that sort of thing. So there can be a lot of protections that you can build in a will. And then what a trust does is it does something similar to that, but if done correctly, it can bypass the probate process completely.
Okay. So a trust is the way to go if you want to try to avoid probate altogether.
Yeah, that is. And so when I explain the idea of a trust is kind of like a treasure chest, and it comes into being. It is born during your life when you sign your estate plan. If you do a trust-based plan, it comes into being and it's born at that time. So it's basically like a treasure chest with an owner's manual, and you put all the things of value into the trust that you have, and that way everything that you have is essentially it's owned by you in your trust. So you still have complete control over it. You can put things in, you can take things out, you can change the rules in your owner's manual. And, because we tell people, look, over time, your family's going to change, your assets are going to change, and the law is going to change. And your estate plan needs to grow and change with you. And so with a trust like that, you're able to make changes as needed. And also make changes with your assets depending on what your needs are. But at the end of the day, if something were to happen to you, a completely funded trust is going to avoid probate completely. And the good part of that is you avoid the time, the cost, and the delay. And it's also a very private process that is done usually in an attorney's office instead of playing out in a public forum like the court system.
Okay. So that's the way to go if you want to avoid probate. However, it sounds like if you only put some things in the treasure chest and not other things, well, then the things you forget to put in the trust, those then still have to go through probate. Is that right?
Yeah, those can go through probate, or they could go directly to people in ways that are totally inconsistent with your estate plan, with what you wanted. So if you have your trust set up for result A, but you own assets that result in B, then you're not really accomplishing your objectives. And so one of the things that's important to do, especially if you have a trust, is to see, okay, one, is it fully funded? Is everything of value in the trust? And if not, what do we need to do to make that happen? Because then the plan's not complete and it's not going to do what we want. It's working against our estate plan instead of with our estate plan.
Right. Well, tell us about something a little more fun. What are your hobbies?
So one of my favorite things to do is to be outside and in the garden. So I love going hiking and kayaking and beach. So anytime it's outside, I've never had a bad day outside. That's the way I like to say it.
Nice.
And so anytime we can work that in there, that's great. If it's just being in the garden, that is wonderful too. I love, I'm a master gardener with Seminole County Extension Office with the University of Florida program. And so that is one of the ways that I give back to the community. And I love volunteering with their programs, and I love educating children about the garden, about plants and soil ecosystems and insects and how to grow their own food. And so one of my favorite things to do is to volunteer in school demonstration gardens and talk to kids and kind of see their faces when they, get their hands in worms and dirt for the first time. And they're just freaked out and excited by it at the same time. It's a great time.
Do you have a garden at home?
I do. So I do have some fruit trees, and I've got some perennials, and we bought a house that had a lot of invasive plants, and it needed a lot. We're in a very wooded area, and there's been a lot of cleaning up that we had to do. And so now we're at the stage where it's fun, it's creative, and we're starting to put back in and really design kind of the garden and get it back going again. But I do have a tendency towards fruit trees and herbs.
Yeah, well, those still serve multiple purposes to have the fruit trees. So we've talked about your profession, but where are you located? What is the territory that you cover?
So for estate planning, my core area of service is in the Central Florida area. So that's going to be Orange, Seminole, Brevard, um, Lake. I do work with clients in Polk County as well, and also Osceola County. So I'm able to work with folks remotely so that, if anything, we only need like one in-person meeting and the rest of the support can be done in ways that are more convenient for them. Um, as far as probate goes, I have a statewide practice. And so that is an area where I can work with people anywhere who are in the state. I'm also licensed in Indiana, and I am active in both states. But our administrative center, the heart right now is in Florida, and that is where we are looking to serve our
Okay. So if someone wanted to go ahead and make the leap and start planning their estate, what would be the first step? How would they reach you, and what would they need to do?
The easiest place to start, and that's what we want to do, is we just want to make it easy, is a free discovery call with me. And so the first step is you can call us 407-308-0578, or you can go online and book an appointment at our website. We're at dltlawoffice.com. And so, a free discovery call, it's no pressure. You're just talking with me, learning about the process, letting me know what's important to you and what questions you have, and how we explore together some ideas on how to address those pain points and kind of get you some peace of mind. So
Excellent. Well, where is all this headed? Where do you see yourself and your firm in the next several years?
I would love to see our firm continue to grow. So we have added an associate. We are looking to hire more people. So we want to bring this level of service and peace of mind and comfort to more of the community. So I'm looking to continue to grow in the Central Florida area, and I want to really do a better job of also serving the Hispanic community as well. So that is an area that I wish to focus on as well. We are bilingual, and we're, daughters of Cuban immigrants, and we want to help people who are making that transition too, or who may not feel comfortable in a different judicial system, and help them protect their families too. So we just want to continue to grow and to serve and do more of what we're doing now. It's a lot of fun. This is the most fun I've ever had in my 20 years of practicing law. And so I just want to keep going.
Excellent. Well, kudos to you for the success that you've had, for the commitment you have to helping people. And I have no doubt that you will continue to grow. Having already got 12 years behind you, that alone is impressive. And you have years ahead of you still to continue to serve the community and grow your practice. So thank you so much for being here and for sharing your story with us. It's been a pleasure. Do you have any final thoughts you'd like to share before we close it out?
I think the biggest thing that I want to do is to encourage people to really enjoy every minute that they have. I think that's one of the beautiful things about what I do, is that it makes me very aware of just this really precious human experience that we're having, and that I don't want to waste a minute, and I don't want anybody else to waste a minute either. And so go out there, do the things, have the experiences, and really enjoy every minute that you're here. So that's what I want to tell people to do.
That is great advice and a great reminder for everyone. Don't get bogged down in the stress of the day to day. Find the things you enjoy in life and make those a priority. Great. Well, with that, we will sign off for today. And thank you again. It's been a pleasure.